we see, especially now in the first days of AI, I think a decade from now, we'll watch back at these years as what were they thinking? The mid-journeys, the runways, like they're piggybacking off everything we created the last decades. That has to stop.
What is Hedge?
We are a company that tries to basically solve the headaches that you encounter in your daily workflow.
Anybody that solves my headaches is a good guy, but what specific headaches are you solving?
It depends really on where you are in the workflow. We see a lot of headaches with people on set creating backups. Disks not being fast enough, or people having to create multiple backups at the same time, which disks dropping out, or they don't have any checksums, and it's just hard to drive the software. So we try to make it super easy to create backups, to create camera reports.
What do you mean super easy? I take the icon, I drag it from the Finder to another. How easy can it be?
That's easy, but that's not safe. Because you don't have any safety mechanisms, you don't have any checksums, there's no ledger, there's no transfer report. So that works for you in your own capacity, but as soon as you work in a team or you're working for a client, they need some proof that you actually did the job and you did it in a safe way, and so that they don't run into headaches later on in that process.
What's the importance of a checksum? Why do we care?
The checksum is a mathematical proof of the copy process going as planned, without running into hiccups that you don't show. And with Finder, for instance, or with Explorer, it's a best effort. If you copy a file with that and it runs into an error, it might just continue as is. And you will end up with a clip that won't play back. And you might not know that.
So what is a checksum?
A checksum is a mathematical sum of a file, a fingerprint, and if you create it from the source and from the copied file and they match, the files are identical.
And if they don't?
Then there's a problem, either with the source file, with the copy, or with the process in between.
Now, you've mentioned that you have a series of products that fit across the whole workflow. We've talked about making file copies. What other products do you have?
We have a transcoding app called Edit Ready. So if you offload your camera and it's raw footage, you might need to transcode it into proxies. You might need to create a camera report. You do that with FullCAD. You might need to put it on LTO. You do that with Canister. And that's all production. For post-production, we have PostLab for collaboration of teams and Mimic for media composer teams.
Here, for instance, we're using two cameras. They're recording to camera cards, and I'm holding the camera card at the end of the day, and I want to copy it to my computer. What software of yours would I use to make that process safe and efficient?
Offshoot.
Offshoot. And then Offshoot does what?
Offshoot calculates if the copies were done correctly. It allows you to do multiple copies at the same time that it costs to do one copy, because you don't want to have just one copy. And it allows you to do uploads to the cloud if needed, or to different types of storage like network.
So I should be running Offshoot, shouldn't I?
Definitely. Everybody should.
What have you got that's new for the show?
For Offshoot, there's quite a lot new. We're building reports that's in beta. So instead of having a transfer log, you can combine the logs of multiple transfers of a day and say, this is all I did today for this production. And new is also cascading. So let's say you have a very fast destination and you have a slow destination. If you copy to both at the same time, the slowest one will dictate the total time. With cascading, you can copy to the first one, the fast one, and then cascade to the next one. And that will, in the end, free up your source earlier on. So as you just mentioned, at the end of the day, you want to offload a card. Why not do that during the day already? It's much safer, because the whole day you'll have a single point of failure with that camera card. We think it's way better to keep offloading multiple times during lunch, before lunch, just to save your own problems in the future.
Okay, so that's improvements to Canister, you say? What else is new?
PostLab mostly. That's our collaboration platform. Used to be only for Final Cut Pro editors. We added Premiere years ago. We're now expanding it to all DAWs. We're adding Pro Tools. We're looking at doing Resolve. It's not just for editors, but the whole creative team. So there's support for Final Draft. There's support for Excel, PowerPoint in there. Those are not editors, but those are files editors will encounter when they're working. So we're trying to build a hub there that gets the whole creative team in one place. So there's no more discussion on what is the latest file.
Interesting. We're seeing that traditional media, broadcast and cable, is under a lot of pressure right now. But there's much more to the media market than traditional broadcasting. Where are you seeing areas of growth?
Marketing. video marketing. There is no more marketing that doesn't encompass video. And a lot of personal video as well. Weddings, for instance. A lot of people are much more... We see photographers defaulting to video now instead of just doing photos. There's a lot of growth in other education as well, not just film schools, but all education is centered around video. People no longer do setups or essays, they do video presentations for their whole class. So there's a lot of opportunity there, live streaming mostly in education.
AI is a buzzword all over. Sometimes it's just used as a word, and sometimes it actually has a function. Where does AI fit with your products?
It's an interesting question. We think a lot of the AI is still a solution looking for a problem. And however, there is... when we talk about metadata, it's typically about, there's technical metadata that's coming from the camera, and there is contextual metadata, semantic metadata. Like, I was here today, I did this shoot, so there's metadata there. We think AI can definitely expand on that metadata, the semantic way, and help with that and make stuff more predictable and easy to expose. But in the end, it's just a very good search engine, we think.
So it sounds like you view AI, to whatever extent it does get involved with your products,
Yes.
as an assistant, not as a creator.
Yes, that's a touchy subject, of course. We see, especially now in the first days of AI, I think a decade from now, we'll watch back at these years as what were they thinking? The mid-journeys, the runways, like they're piggybacking off everything we created the last decades. That has to stop. Like, there is either the creatives get basically ousted or removed from the industry, and that just means there's going to be a vicious circle of generative AI that just doesn't get itself with new input. Or it's going to be an assistive tool. I think AI is great for storyboarding, for previs, but it does need creative input in proper way, because otherwise it will just all be the same very quickly within a few years.
One of the cool things about your job, of which there are many cool things about your job, is that you get to look at the future and say, how can we find a product that's going to meet a need coming up? Which is both good and bad, because you got to come up with the idea. But what trends are you watching that we should pay attention to?
It's actually just really a good thing. It's a beautiful back and forth between people, customers, understanding, oh, I'm doing this today, I'd like to be able to do that tomorrow, and it gets you on a train of thought that's like, what if it's not tomorrow but a year down the road? Can we 10x what you are trying to do? And the trends that we see there is definitely AI, not in the sense that there are so many AI startups that are basically a hammer. Those will become they will be commoditized. They become just parts of existing software of a larger workflow problem. Like, hey, I think outside the media industry, companies like Notion are doing that really well, and GitHub from Microsoft as well. Like, it's a versioning platform, or that you're writing notes. Hey, let me help you, let me assist you. Grammarly is also a great idea for that. It's an assistant. It's the assistant you were never able to hire because you couldn't afford it. And I think AI will work massively there. In this industry, I think ColorLab AI is a great example of something that actually is that assistant. Instead of forcing you into a workflow that you don't want to have, but there's no other way to do it, that actually it enhances your workflow. You can dip in and get out of it when you're done. And that's a smart thing, I think. Because in the end, everything at these trade shows are hammers and screwdrivers. And you just need to build a toolkit.
How would you summarize the key features or key benefits that Hedge products provide to someone that hasn't used them?
We prevent headaches. That's it. And the headache can either be with yourself realizing the day after you did something like, ooh, I should have done that differently. That's going to cost me a lot of time. Or it saves you from that customer that gives you a call a day later. That's actually why we're called Hedge. In Dutch, when you throw something over the hedge, you make it someone else's problem. And we saw so much of that being done that we said, let us be the hedge. We'll make sure it comes out on the other side as is, fine as is, so you don't get that customer call. Because one day you're on set, you get that call that you cannot take because you're already on the next job. And that's what we want to prevent. So we don't do anything creative. We don't touch the creative process. We see ourselves as we're that skin around the creative process that enables you to spend more time being creative instead of fixing stupid technical problems.
Of all the times I've talked to you, I never knew the definition of why it was called Hedge. That is such a cool story. Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Larry.